Before I get into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about something I'm super excited about. I'm working with Astral to allow you to explore my podcast, articles, and books in a whole new way. And it's basically the Angry Therapist AI. And before you roll out your eyes, I just want you to know that here are some of the ways you could benefit from this. Getting immediate tips tailored to your life/relationships. You can get highlights and a lot of my books in a short class, right? So you get notes. There's going to be a carousel of bullet bullet points and a lot of like cliff note type of things that file things for you so you don't have to like look through all my shit, which is I mean 15 years of 15 years of articles and podcasts and all this stuff. And so it's all going to be at your fingertips, and I've already tested it. It's amazing, so just look out for it. I wanted to tell you about it. Okay, I want to start with a quote this morning. And I don't know when you're listening to this. It may not be morning, maybe night, maybe day. Okay, the quote goes like this. This is by Carl Jung. Experience is, for me, the highest authority. The touchstone of validity is my own experience. No other person's ideas and none of my own ideas are as authoritative as my experience. It is to experience that I must return again and again, to discover a closer approximation to truth as it is in the process of becoming me. Now, a lot of people don't put a lot of weight on experience. I maybe I put too much weight on experience, but I tend to be more of a logical person. Half of my life was living in logic on that plane. And so it wasn't until I started to kind of drop into my body and put weight on the experience that um, I felt something different, that I felt like I was actually changing. I don't think, because logic's slippery, and I don't think that just by trying to outsmart yourself that you're going to change. I really think that I call it secondary change that's not reversible, right? Like puberty. Puberty is not reversible. You can't go back and anyway, sorry. John, stop with the comedy. You're a therapist, man. What are you doing? Um let me give you an example. Okay. So, say you have this false belief because of your story and your upbringing slash relationships, and you believe that you are unlovable, right? Say that there is a false belief that you believe you're unlovable. And throughout the years, you're aware of this and you realize how that ripples into uh, relationships, right? Maybe because of that belief, maybe you self sabotage, maybe you uh, fall into relationships that you know will be short lived. I don't know, however that manifests. And you want to dissolve this false belief, right? I mean, we all want to dissolve a belief that we are not lovable, of course. And so you try to outsmart it. You try to think about it, logically that you are lovable, and you read a lot of books and you take courses and all that. But I really believe that until you get yourself into, or until you give yourself the experience of being loved without condition, until you are giving yourself the experience to love in a safe space, or have those moments where in your body you feel, oh shit, this is a different feeling. This makes me feel uh, loved without condition. This makes me feel seen, heard. And a lot of my clients are like, well, how am I supposed to give myself that experience if I'm not, dating anyone? Well, you could give yourself that experience in other relationships. It doesn't have to be just romantic relationships. But what's important is that you don't miss the feeling because they do come in moments, right? You don't miss it. Instead, you grab it and you walk into it and you allow it to be absorbed in your body. And I think, this quote with Carl Jung, he says, returning again and again. And the way that I take that is, it's not just one time. I mean, the experience you have to give yourself many of those experiences until you believe something different. I know for me in my life, and of course, I, like many of you, have a lot of false beliefs that I still live with. And by the way, these false beliefs, they live in our they're underneath, they're buried, right? They're in our subconscious, and so half of the work is just trying to unearth them. Half of the work is just trying to realize who's at the wheel and why you do what you do, or why you think how you think. Most of us are running on autopilot. Most of us are living just by default, instead of and I think this is what people mean by conscious living and unconscious living. If you are just living by your programming, what you've been through, if you've never had a software update, assuming like your phone, and you're running on old programming, then that is not living a conscious life, right? That is when you kind of start to exist, and that is when you're grayed out. That is definitely not where you are potent and unique. That is where you and empowered, right? That's Clark Kent trying to find a payphone. Okay, that life, and that's a life I've lived all my 20s, 30s. It wasn't until probably 35 that I just started turning the corner. Just started getting curious. I mean, not even practicing, right? Just getting curious about what could be different, how I could show up different, right? How I could pull from a side of me that I haven't, to set myself up for new experiences. So for me, because they do come in moments, it could be a new. So for me, man, I think for me it was like, imagine the different categories of your life, right? There's love and relationships, friendships, relationships with your family. There's career, right? That's a huge one for us. I would say also movement, fitness, that stuff is also wellness, diet, all of that is a big part of your life as well. I would examine all the areas of my life, the big life pie pieces, and I would ask myself daily, what new experience can I give myself? So, a simple example is I got into fitness at about 35. I did my first squat at 35, and fell into functional fitness slash CrossFit. And every time I would go into the box, I would ask myself, what new experience do I want from this class, this 1 hour? Is the goal to be stronger, faster, um, or is it to actually? Is it not about the scoreboard, but is it to do a workout without being competitive and without putting pressure on myself, and then being okay with that on the drive home, right? And so, like, what new experience do you want to give yourself, and why? So that was the big question for me. And it wasn't a one-time thing. I think many people do ask themselves this, but it's a once in a while thing. I turned it into a lifestyle. And I think in the new experience, whether it was uh, proving myself wrong in a workout, or let's say I went on a date, what's the new experience I want to give myself? And then also kind of bringing it back to you, right? So it's not so much about getting something, but it's about perhaps seeing something through new lenses, which then gives you a new experience. Maybe eating a meal, and I'm purposely talking about things that are dated, that are in our everyday. Because yeah, we all want to give ourselves the new experience of traveling to Greece, and eating amazing foods and all that. But for most of us, it's going to be finding things in the mundane. I mean, in order to give yourself a new experience again and again, it's going to be finding things in your current life. And I think this is what's truly powerful is finding things in your life spaces, right? Like I mentioned, whether it's movement, career, I don't know, your passions, relationships, whatever, finding the spaces in your life and asking yourself, what's the new experience I want to give myself today? And if I give myself this experience, um, what's the result of that? Is that going to help me dissolve some of my false beliefs? Is it going to convince my body that there's something different? I think that's the biggest change for me is when I was in my 20s and 30s, it was about convincing my logic. And then after 35, I got fascinated with convincing my body. And I really believe that our bodies is a stronger radar. If you want to talk about attracting, I think it's a stronger force. I think um, it's where wholeness and connection to self lives, right? And so it's just more powerful on every level. So, what new experience do you want to give your body? If you drop into your body, what's the new experience you want to feel? If anything, I hope today is a reminder for you to start asking yourself that question. And I think over time, if you start giving yourself new experiences and you're consciously aware of them, if there's intention and you're not just, um, doing it without awareness, because then that slips. But if you are aware and you drop in and you feel in your body this new, this different, this is how you start to rewire. This is how you start to recondition. This is how you start to work inside out. And I think um, this is secondary change. This is the kind of change that's irreversible. Thank you for listening. Be well.